Alahayo hoyade hoyshanara kase.
Right. Quick two questions from me. One of the mother yesterday sent me a video of her son. He is 18 months and he started banging, not banging his butt, you know, pushing on the pillow.
Yeah.
And she said, is that normal? And my alarm is ringing. It's like, okay, he could have, you know, some inflammation, you know, what advice would you give her? Of course, you know, she does have another son who's 3, also on the spectrum. So what advice would you give that mother who's an 18 months started displaying that behavior?
So the advice is for what? For her to identify whether he has autism, or to do something about
him pushing his head against the pillow on the sofa.
It sounds to me, it could be behavioral, we don't know, but it could be that he's trying to get some pressure because he's got a little bit of possibly inflammation going on. We don't know. So he needs
a sign of early inflammation that a mother can look at.
Possibly, yeah. What are the signs? That rocking, banging, you know, any repetitive behavior. Inflammation can be in different places. So you could have gut inflammation, which of course then has many repercussions as well. But if it's gut inflammation, your child is either going to the loo too much, or constipated, or not eating. All of these things are signs that there's something possibly inflammatory going on. It doesn't necessarily have to be brain inflammation. It could be that your body is just releasing too many immune cells and it needs to be calmed down, and it needs to be the gut maybe needs to be revamped, the diet has to be looked at. I would go and look at the diet first. You know, if it was my child and it was like he was doing that, like doing this kind of rocking movement, I would look at what he's eating and make sure that maybe take out dairy for 3 weeks as an example. Not long, because he's 18 months, he needs his calcium, so it's important to be supported. But take it out and see, you know, trial things short term and see. Take out gluten, take out all the nasties that cause a lot of glutamate, especially if kids are not talking. They shouldn't be having any garbage food, you know, that can increase glutamate in the system.
Is it normal for a 2-year-old not to be verbal?
No.
It's not a speech delay?
Not to be completely non-verbal with no words. That's not normal. No.
How many words can you just say? You know, he could be a bit just a speech delay.
They should be able to wave, point, and say like mama, dada, that kind of thing, just like the minor. If he's not saying any of those, then there's a problem.
Right.
Likely. I can't say for sure, but most likely. My own daughter was quite speech delayed. You know, she didn't start talking, but she said odd words, and so that's okay. And even babbling, because sometimes kids just talk rubbish when they just talk like their own language. That's a good sign, you know, that at least they're saying some words. But if they're completely quiet at 2 years old and not saying anything, that's a problem.
Okay, just another question from the mother. I'm just going to jump to that.
Yeah.
Can you ask her, I have started all-start probiotic. I didn't start to give my son yet, and I would like to start. What you can advise me anyway. Would you like her to see soon? No. Okay, all-start probiotic, yes or no?
I don't know what that is. What is that?
Oh, it's a probiotic from America by a guy, I can't remember his name, but he devised it for his son who was on the spectrum.
With probiotics, you know, part of that's the re-inoculation phase, right? Which is level 4 stuff. So it depends, what have you done already? Does it have any strep strains in it? Probably not, if it's someone designed it specifically for a child. Maybe if I suspect strep infections, I don't want strep strains in it. If I think that he has SIBO, I don't want a lot of acidophilus and lactobacillus in. If he's got histamine issues, I don't want lactobacillus bulgaricus in it, because that can increase histamine levels. So we know everything in great detail. So it's like when a probiotic is given to you, it's literally for you. It's not for, it might not work for someone else or be actually unhelpful for someone else because of where they're at. So that's an impossible question to answer. But if you've got some, try and see. Just use a tiny bit. Always dose slowly, and don't get too excited with trying to kind of, more is not always better. Sometimes they can only handle a small amount. If you give a pinch of probiotic and they blow up, then it's not the right probiotic. But if you've managed to get half the dose in and they're good and they're responding well, then it's good. But if they get bloated and anxious and can't sleep, then that is not working for them. It's either not the right probiotic or it's not the right time to do the probiotic.
Not a die-off symptoms?
It can be, but then you can make that so much easier by doing the step beforehand to do some, because that might take ages and it can cause a lot of like upset and a lot of pain for the child, and it's not necessary. If you do some of the removal first with a binder and some of the antifungals and antimicrobials first, and then do the probiotic, you are so much, like your child will be so much happier. Okay?
Right. Can I just ask, because some of them say to me, please just keep asking the questions.
Yeah.
What are the cause of some of the sensory issues, such as licking, chewing, anything, vocal stimming, covering ears, picky, poking eyes, eating dirt, and how can this be treated?
Okay. So I've got the question in front of me, so I can, what causes, okay, so that can be partly sensory seeking. Now that's an OT can deal with that. I can't deal with that. But I often find that it's nutrient deficiencies. It can be iron and zinc and many other things, magnesium as well. Those three are very important to get right. Stimming is usually oxidative stress. It means that there's inflammation and something going on in the body that the body doesn't like. And covering ears is the same. Poking eyes can be an oxalate issue. So some kids can't break down a compound in food, which is called an oxalate. So oxalates are found in things like green vegetables, like spinach, and they're high in almonds. So lots of kids who go off dairy, they end up having almond milk and they can't cope. But it could be that he's building up, oxalates are like crystal. They're like shards of glass in your system. They can really hurt you. And then, you know, it's normally associated with kidney stones, for example. But in our kids, it's not that. It's completely different. It can build up in tissue. Eyes and sort of ends of fingers and toes, if they're like toe walking or walking on their heels, or it might be that it's actually painful. So if he's poking his eyes, it's likely that oxalates are a problem. I wrote an article for the Autism Eye magazine about oxalates because I know it's such a prevalent issue in our community. And so please read that, because that tells you everything you need to know about, could it be oxalates, how to test or not, what you can do about it. And if you try those simple things, whatever I write in blogs are fairly safe to do. But if you're going to start using lots of supplements, you must get professional help, okay? So oxalates can be identified in urine tests called the organic acid test normally. And it's actually a marker that you can, but the only problem with that is that oxalates can be released, like you and I, we could be releasing our oxalates. It's like it has its own circadian rhythm. I could be releasing my oxalates mostly at 6 a.m.
Terminologies, please.
Huh?
Can you go a bit easy on the terminologies? More simpler.
What am I saying?
I mean,
a circadian rhythm is like, sorry. So we all have, like, we sleep at some people sleep at 10, wake up at 6. That's their rhythm of sleep. So we all have rhythms to how we eat and we sleep and all of that. So with oxalates also, because you dump them, you release them out of your system. I might be releasing mine at 6 a.m. and you might be releasing yours at 6 p.m. But the test is a morning test. So sometimes it doesn't pick it up. So we go with what we see. If we get lots of ticks in that box, we make sure that we deal with it and put you on maybe a low oxalate diet with some nutrient support.
Okay, next question. Can a child with severe autism recover with biomedical intervention? And the other question is, do you have an example of children you have recovered? And what's your success?
Yeah, we have lots of examples of children. I mean, recovered is not my favorite word. I would say that we have got children at their optimum health, and in many cases, the children who've been through the entire program are more or less indistinguishable from their brothers and sisters who don't have issues. Now, it takes humongous effort to get there, okay, as you know, Muna, probably. So it's not about just doing a program for 3 months and expecting it. Doesn't always work. And we know within 6 months, if you as a parent has done everything that we've asked you, you've done all the tests, we've followed the path, and your child is not changing, then there's something else going on. And then we have that conversation with you. Sorry?
Such as?
It could be that it's actually not autism. It might be brain damage that the child has. We don't know. It could be that it's beyond our capability to help. It might be that they need something else, from something more medical. And that's, we get to that point always with the parents if that happens. But we have children who respond, and when they do, it's a beautiful thing. And if we take it to the maximum, then we have a very healthy child who you probably couldn't tell if that he's had autism in the past. And some kids lose their diagnosis altogether, or their parents don't always want their child to lose the diagnosis because they like to get the support that they need in case. And then you have children who don't improve, and we have that. We have kids, and I'm all over it very quickly because I don't like people, you know, having had a child with many issues myself. I don't want to be. It's not even the money, you know, sometimes that you pay. It's the hope that gets dashed, and that's so much more painful, and it just destroys you as a family, and you become depressed. And so I don't want that for the people we work with. So if we need to have that conversation that, look, you've done everything, you've been amazing, it's not working, it's not because we're doing anything wrong, but it just might be that you need to look at it from a different point of view. Maybe refer to a neurologist, write to your doctor and ask for some look, and maybe an MRI would be helpful, or a scan or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, there's one. Her child is 8 and he's nonverbal or pre-verbal, and he's really trying to speak, but physically cannot. But he's like trying, and he's making the sound, and you can see him struggling to speak. She will, you know, be coming soon. But what would you say to her now?
We have to try and do all the, like, identify, is there anything that is contributing to that? I know I'm repeating myself, but that's how it is. It's like we don't have any like magic box we look in. We have to do it as a process. So we look and see. I would say like a speech and language therapist, if she doesn't have one already, is gold dust for this kind of thing. Get an occupational therapy. There are treatments where you can do like there's a guy we used to work with quite a lot called, I can't remember his name, but he does, they call it, functional neurology. And that is to help with getting the left and right brain communicating. You do specific exercises and things like that. And sometimes that's what you need. It's not enough just to do biomed, it's just a part of the picture, okay? An important part, but a part.
Right. What are the signs of having parasites?
Often, I mean, there are many. It's like a child who's not thriving, a child who's low iron despite eating properly, or a child who's constantly eating and not putting on weight. Child who is smearing, that's a big sign if they start smearing. Who's like constantly touching their bum all the time, that's another one, like itching their bottom. Those are the key ones that I would look for to see. And then because tests are not very good for parasites, really, even the stool test we do.
Dark eyes. I mean,
that can mean lots. That can mean food intolerances and all sorts of things as well. But it's usually the ones I've said are the really quite specific for parasitic behavior. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of introducing seeds such as pumpkin seed, flower seed, chia seed, cumin, sesame seed, how much do we give to our child daily?
Take me to that question. In terms of introducing
One
things
of the
such as,
comments, not a
okay, so it's like, it depends how old they are, how big they are. I don't know, but I would say
it's a mixture, to be honest, with my son.
yeah, I mean, grind them up. They're better ground up because they're much better digested. If you are going to give them whole, then soak them and then dry them in the oven, just so that to make them a bit more palatable, a bit more digestible for them, because otherwise they just come out of your poop mostly whole. I would say a tablespoon a day mixed for a child of, let's say, a 4-year-old, and an 8 to 12-year-old, maybe a couple of tablespoons of that is about right. I love flax seeds, which is not included, but flax seeds are one of the best seeds you can give, especially if you have a constipated child.
The chia seed, do you recommend actually put them in water for overnight?
Oh, the chia seeds, is that the one you asked for? The chia seeds, because they're small, they're going to be a bit tricky to soak and stuff, but chia seeds and black cumin seeds, you can probably just grind those. I have a question for your community, actually. It's reminded me. Let's see if someone can answer me. I've heard from some people that there's a product out there that's being sold as a multi-level marketing called Rain Soul that you guys are using.
That's me.
That's you?
I sought the company because they have a doctor, and they introduced us to the product, and some of the parents started using it, my son included.
What do you think of it?
The thing is, for me, when I started, I never recommend anything for my group unless I try it with my son. He's more
sure. Yeah, brilliant.
trial. And I started using it. It's 4 seeds. I read their research. I said, okay, why not? So we started using it. And my son, he's borderline ADHD, undiagnosed, probably high functioning autism with ADHD. And he was much calmer. He came to me the other day after using it for 2 weeks. He came to me with his dad, and he's conversational, but he wouldn't sit down and tell you a story. That's never happened. So he sat down with us and he said, I want to tell you a gingerbread man story. I'm like, oh. Me and his dad were like, huh, what? And he said, oh, I was, running, and the gingerbread was running after me. I literally started crying. And I'm like, are you serious? And I said to my husband, whatever you think of this product, I'm buying this. And it seemed like it really worked for him. I'm going to continue for the next, he's on, this is his 3rd month. And for him, he's just calmer, happier. Constipation issues, not much. He's going every day. And I'm happy.
How do you give it? Do you give it straight, or do you mix it into something? Because it's not, I've lost you. Oh, I've lost you there, Mona.
Hello, Stella. It's Yasmin. Can I talk while Mona's not there?
Hello.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember me. I just want to let the girls know that one time I requested for you.
Yeah.
And then I got coriander. You assigned coriander to me, and I panicked and I said I called back and I said, oh, I want to deal with Stella only because of your experience. And then you called me back.
Yeah.
And spent like nearly half an hour trying to explain to me that how you deal with everything.
Tell me, I hope this story ends well.
Very good, very good. So basically, the point I'm trying to make is you were trying to reassure me that this, don't delay for your daughter. Make sure that you get the help that you need for her now, and that you see everything. It's good that I took that advice because coriander is amazing. Wonderful. She's lovely. And it was even answering questions way before we did our consultation using that app. Practice app, I think it was called.
Yeah, Practice Better. Yeah.
Yeah. So we started our journey really, I think, on my birthday, the 10th of June, and with our first free call. And I've already got my report now. I've got my test come through today. So we're starting our journey just to let the girls know that that report, it looks amazing. It looks quite overwhelming.
It is. I'm sorry if it's overwhelming, but just take your time.
Yeah.
And just be. I've read the report because I had to approve it, so it's excellent. And I think that, you know, a lot of different people, you know, I've gone into it with her and we've discussed it. You get talked about a lot before you get that report, so it's really has identified exactly what you need to do. And just, you know, have faith and follow the path. And thank you so much for that lovely feedback. I really appreciate that, Yasmin.
I just wanted to let the girls know, you don't delay it. And also the other thing is, yes, the tests are they're very costly. I just added it all together, my recommendation tests. They are costly, but the recommendation of the protocol itself looks really good. With all the research I've done in the last 2.5 years, some of the things that I thought I was doing right, like for example, there's probiotics that I thought I did the research on. And I thought that was really good. Sorry.
That's okay.
I thought I did the research on, what's her name? Coriander said to stop doing that immediately. Because there's strips in there that I didn't know. I thought it was really good. It looked amazing. And the reviews were amazing, but I was told to stop because you guys know what you're talking about. So I thought I just mentioned to the girls. All right, so I'm gonna come off now. I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, brilliant. Well done. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
And hi Stella, and I'm one of the members. I think Muna has a technical hitch. She tried to call me. I couldn't even hear her.
Okay.
So maybe we can, we had a session where we wanted to ask at the end of the session, every mom who wants to ask a question. I don't know if you want to go to that side or you want to continue with the list.
Shall I just quickly go through the list and answer them in a brief way, and then so that people don't feel like I didn't answer their question, and then you can, we'll leave it open till 1 o'clock. I was planning I need to do an hour, but I can extend it to 1 o'clock so that I can answer everybody's question. Is that good?
Fine.
Is that good?
Sorry. Can you hear me, Stella? Yeah. Hello, that's fine.
Yeah, lovely. All right. So we got to the point about the poking ears and stuff like that and the severe autism. And so the question is, what can I do to support with speech? I think we have covered a lot of the stuff that I said, just to make sure that it's not, that you get a speech and language therapist involved. Make sure that you get the right support. So we identify what could be contributing to lack of. There is a really nice supplement I've been using more recently, very nicely for speech, which is, I know if I say it, you're all going to go and buy it, but please buy it at the right time. But it's called PS100, and it's by, let me see if I can find it. And that's phosphatidylserine, and that seems to be very nice for, let me see if I can find it here. I can show you. I mean, there's this one, but it's not exactly the one I use, but I'll show you. I'll share my screen with you. It's this one. So it's phosphatidylserine, and that seems to be very good. I think you need to be linked to us to be able to buy from this company, but you probably can find this anywhere, in lots of places. And so I found this really good for speech. But it's not as simple as that, because speech could be not coming because of mechanical issues, because of inflammation. So then we need to bring inflammation down. So there's lots of reasons why speech doesn't happen. Okay, so we need to, if speech is an issue, I really would get like, hi Mona.
Sorry, my computer just literally crashed.
That's okay. So I really would get, let me just, if you are, I was just talking about supplements for speech. I showed phosphatidylserine is quite a nice one I've used, but at the right time, I was just saying, and also make sure that if you have issues with speech and it's really delayed, you kind of find a way to invest in getting support from someone like us to try and figure it out. because that's complicated, okay? And it's usually not something you can figure out on your own. But, you know, go to your GP, ask for speech and language support, ask for all this stuff, okay? You're entitled to it. It's important.
I got you the rain. The soul is called.
Yeah, I actually, I've seen it. Someone gave me one of the little sachets.
So what's your opinion on it?
Sorry?
What's your opinion? Have you seen some of the children?
Yeah, I tried it myself just to see what it tastes like. I wanted to see if I could get away with giving it. I found it taste was fine. I mean, it's a little bit gritty, but I think you can get away with mixing it into something. But some kids are fine. I gave it to my daughter, who's my guinea pig, and she had it, and she thought, she said it tasted okay, but afterwards it left a little bit of a taste in her mouth. And then I mixed the rest into a different smoothie, and she drank it. Really enjoyed it.
Do you recommend it for some of our children? Because I think a lot of them are.
I mean, it seems like it's got nice things in it. As a clinic, our policy is not to get involved in MLMs. That's just our policy. But if people want to try it, I don't see any harm. It's got very lovely ingredients in it, but I don't, you know, they'd have to go to someone like yourself, I guess, to access it. But
we have one mother, she has twins, and they were not sleeping because they had a lot of inflammation, and she gave them, and within 2 days they are sleeping.
So that's I mean, that's genius, isn't it? When that happens, you can't ignore it. So
no.
You know, I love anything natural. Sorry? I just love anything that's food based, you know, that's like going to give you nutrition and not. Okay, let's go through this. I've promised to go through all the questions, then give people a bit of airspace to ask me some questions as well. So let me go to number 9. Are you aware, or do you work alongside good speech and language therapists and behavioral therapists? We do locally of where I live, and also locally to my clinic in London. There's a clinic called the Children's Clinic, and on Harley Street. They're quite expensive, but they have like a combination of speech and language and all of that. But with speech and language, because you have to go often, I would find someone local to you where you live and ask around and see, and just try people and see how good they are. The one near us, which is in Buckinghamshire, there's a organization called LEAP, which is LEAP, and they're a great occupational therapist, and they have a lot of contacts with speech and language. But there are thousands of speech and language therapists, you know, thousands, and you should just go on their professional body website and ask, you know, find out who's local to you. Some children have no gut issues, for example. They eat well, sleep well, and go to the toilet as well. So I'm guessing, are you asking, can anything be done for them? I don't know. You know, we'd have to see, is it sort of, what else could be going on? Is it immune mediated? Like, is there something going on in their immune system? Is there, or something else? So if we get kids like that, we then do a thorough analysis of, if the parents are open to it, to look at, maybe an organic acid test would be quite good for these kids to see if there are any deficiencies, malabsorption issues, whatever it is, and try and mediate those and fix those. And if that doesn't help, then we know it's not biomed related. Yeah.
Shall we leave some time now for question and answer by any of the parents?
Well, let me just make sure, because I don't want people to feel I didn't answer their questions. So will insurance cover the costs? We have insurance cover some of the testing, but it depends on your insurance company. So you have to ask. Ancestral supplements, can you use those as a Muslim? They're not halal, no. So you'd have to find one. You maybe ask the company if they would double check with them, but I'm fairly sure it's not halal.
Yeah, Stella, that's one of the things that was recommended for me. It's Yasmin. So that's one of the things that was recommended for my daughter. Is there an alternative that's halal? It sounds good. I read about it. It sounds good.
Yeah,
so I mean,
sometimes when we talk to parents, they're open to they're a little bit flexible, and sometimes they're not flexible. So just drop us a note about that and I'll figure it out for you. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Mona, can you please ask for me? I have all the staff. Oh, you've asked that. Which calcium supplement would you recommend? Depends. First of all, don't supplement with calcium without really knowing that your child needs calcium, because calcium can be a bit sort of triggery and cause excitation and cause a bit of stimming if you give too much. Always make sure you take a calcium supplement that has an equal amount of magnesium in it, 1 to 1. So for example, if I show you the one I normally use, I can do calcium. See if we can find it here. Yeah, so as an example, this is a really nice one because it's liquid and it's got the right ratio. Yeah, you can see it's got a ratio of 1 amount of calcium to 1 amount of magnesium. Okay, very important that you do it the right way. Otherwise, you can cause imbalances. Okay, so that would be a good one. Can you add that question, please, in IBS? Is IBS common with the children with autism? Yes, it's common-ish. You know, it might not have a diagnosis as IBS from a medical perspective, but there are lots of gut issues. Yeah, it's common. Not always, you know, it doesn't always have to be the case. Probiotic, someone is asking, can we give the child probiotic and prebiotic same time? Depends very much on what's going on. You would need to talk to us about that to see if there's any SIBO, anything like that going on. We try and avoid the prebiotics. I know people do the Nemetschek protocol using inulin, but it doesn't work for everybody and it can be very counterproductive. So it really depends. Articles, where can I find this article, please? All of our articles are on our website. Go to brainstormhealth.co.uk and look under resources. There's a section called Health Blog, and you have all the blogs that I've written. Most of them are published in magazines, but some of them are just short blogs, but you'll find them all there. Okay, can we have your services in Africa? Yes, we work with people all over the world. Will you see clients outside UK? Yes, absolutely. How many units of vitamin D for a 6-year-old? If you have to know if they're deficient. It's a very good question, actually. Another thing I forgot to say. When you dose with vitamin D, I can have 4 children with exactly the same level of vitamin D to start with. And then we give them the same amount of vitamin D. And at the end of 3 months, they will have completely different levels. Some will be high, some will be normal, some will be low. And there's a genetics involved in absorbing vitamin D as well. But for a 6-year-old, I would start with something like 400 international units. That's minimum. But if you're deficient, you need a lot more than that. And your GP will prescribe it. But they won't prescribe it unless they test you. So get them to test you, okay? And vitamin D testing is simple. You can go online and buy loads of vitamin D tests for very little money and do a finger prick test at home if you can't get your GP to do it, okay? What causes a child to laugh non-stop on his own? It's like he's being tickled. Okay, common in kids who have an overgrowth of yeast. Very, very common. Yeast is candida. You would have heard of candida yeast. In your gut, you have like an ecosystem, like the Amazon rainforest, that keeps you healthy. There's loads of bacteria there, different species, like you've heard of, Lactobacillus bifido, but they're, I don't know, thousands of species that they're there. Then you've got a tiny bit of yeast that is normal for it to be there, a little bit of number of viruses and some little number of protozoa, which are like parasites. And they all kind of live in harmony together. But when you have a child who has a bad gut, maybe they were a C-section baby, they had antibiotics, or your own gut health wasn't very good, or you were prone to thrush, or whatever it is that you gave birth and your baby doesn't have the right ecosystem, or they eat too much sugar, carbohydrates, that kind of thing. They build up yeast in their gut. Then the yeast can, like mushrooms in the forest, take over, you know, and then they produce 3 different toxins. One is called ammonia. So if you have a child who's bumping into things, is really out of balance, poor coordination, can't write, can't ride a bike, can't and is very sort of accident prone, they are probably quite high in ammonia, which is one of the toxins that yeast produces. The second toxin it produces is called gliotoxin, which is a bit like you sitting in a room full of mold for a long time and breathing it in. And it produces this nasty gliotoxin in your body. We have a test that we test for kids that I worry have had a lot of mold exposure or are very yeasty, to see. The third one is called acetaldehyde, and that is exactly the same as alcohol. And clearly, you know, you guys avoid alcohol, but I can guarantee you this child is producing tons of alcohol in the body. And alcohol makes you feel drunk, but then it takes you, as soon as that effect wears off, you feel like upset. Maybe they cry all the time, you know, kids who are just crying for no reason, or they're laughing for no reason, or they're very emotional. Those are the kids that you need to check yeast for. So that's a very good question. We talked about waiting lists. We don't have a waiting list in our clinic. We can see you very quickly. It's me personally that I don't see people directly so much. I have very limited number of people I see. We talked about light and noise sensitivity. So I feel like I've answered all the questions. Anyone wants to ask questions? Should we give it another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Questions?
Anyone, ladies?
We have
Hello.
Yasmin. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, it's not Yasmin.
Oh,
You
sorry.
said Yasmin, so I thought she was going to say something. Sorry. Hi, Stella.
Hi, Sada.
Hiya. We have been with Brainstorm since December. I haven't spoken to you personally. We see Coriander. And I'm not sure if you know who we are. My son's name's Khalid. We featured in your newsletter, the boy with the dairy allergies.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm going to look you up now. Do you have a general question you want to ask?
No, I just wanted to say how happy I am with you guys and how you made all the difference to my son's health.
That's nice.
Oh, that's so lovely. How's he? What's your surname?
Ali, Khalif Ali.
Ali. Yeah, I can't see anything. So are you working still with us, or are
Yes, I am. We've been with you since December.
Awesome. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for that lovely comment. I appreciate
Thank you. He had dairy problems with dairy, and he used to be admitted to hospital.
I remember you. You're the one whose child was. Oh my goodness! You were like the miracle child. Yeah.
He is. He's never. I just want to tell you, since our appointment we saw Coriander, since then, December, he's never been admitted to hospital and never been on any medications.
Amazing. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done for doing everything. That's so impressive. Well done.
So yeah, just wanted to let you know Coriander is brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. You've been too loud, mate.
Okay, so
any other question, ladies?
Yes. Hi, Stella.
Hello.
Hi. So I just wanted to ask, you said you are closely with homeopaths.
Yeah.
What kind of work do you do with them? If, say, somebody went to see a homeopath first and came to see you, How would you collaborate those two? You know,
I mean, we're not, there's not so much the collaboration, it's that sometimes we feel homeopathy would be helpful. So we ask the parents to also either go and do that first or work alongside what we're doing. So it's not so much that we integrate our approach,
okay.
but we just really, I respect homeopathy. It has to be with the right homeopath, the right attitude and the right experience. But if you are with someone, I think it's really valuable. These kids are quite energetically challenged. And
Yeah.
so, there is, I think that homeopaths will say that there's an awful lot of data out there that supports what they do, the research. I mean, there's lots of websites you can look at. But for me, clinically, I've seen very good things from it. So I just, and it's so safe and wonderful. It's like a lovely therapy to do. So as long as we know that you're working with someone, if it's someone we know, then great. Or if, for example, they're doing something major with your child, just we need to be aware of it so that we don't interrupt that work. That's the bit of collaboration that happens. But always happy to collaborate with anyone you're working with. Our aim is to get your child well, whatever it takes. Yeah. So.
Okay. So, and one more question with echolalia. What do you think is causing it, and what kind of things I can do to help with echolalia?
It's, again, I don't know until we see the person, and I'd have to look at your case history. Is it oxidative stress? Is it inflammation? Is there nutrient deficiency? You know, it could be a multitude of things. This is why functional medicine is so structured, because we know that the reasons for these things can be multifactorial. So in order for us to know, we need to look at it very broadly and not just hone in on that specific symptom. I'm not trying to avoid answering your question. There just isn't a particular answer.
Okay, now I understand. And have you heard of ISERA testing?
Asira?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That's a bioresonance testing. So that's done. That is a little bit way out there for me. That one I'm not sure about, but it's kind of done with like hair samples and that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm open to everything if it's helpful and safe, you know?
Okay.
I don't have a personal experience using it because we don't use things like that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, no worries. Okay, maybe a couple more questions, or are we?
Hi, and Stella, it's me.
Hi.
Hi. I think I spoke to you on the phone as well a couple of times because I wanted to come and see you, which I will in the near future.
Okay, great.
And you've always been, thank you for this session. You've always been welcoming and answering questions very efficiently.
No problem.
I just wanted to ask, and I think I'm the one who asked, if a child have, sometimes the children don't have a lot of gut issues, but then they have, but then they still show a lot of autistic traits like self-laughing, echolalia, and daydreaming. Could it be, you said you've answered, I think, that partly, saying that it could be the immune system. Could it be anything to do with they need brain food, or like maybe hyperbaric oxygen therapy you talked about? Will that help? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you say gut issues, it's like you're seeing there's no overt, like obvious gut issues, like they're not constipated or diarrhea, but there could be lots of other things going on, like their microbiota, which is this whole ecosystem rainforest I talk about. That could be really out of balance, and he could have just excessive of something in there. So just because you don't see these major symptoms of gut issues, it doesn't mean there are no gut issues. So there usually is. I can tell you that most of the time. And then there could be deficiencies and significant nutrient deficiencies. It could be that they need lots of brain protective foods, you know, like phosphatidylcholine and phosphatidylserine and omega-3 fatty acids and that kind of stuff. And then you have to go at a therapeutic level, which means not just the small amount that you use in supplements, but maybe for a short while go high. But that you need to work with a professional. It's really hard as a parent to gauge that. But yeah, so it's actually an excellent question, because I think it's important for people to know. I often get asked this, you know, well, my child goes to the toilet every day, it's fine, you know, but he has all these issues. But it doesn't mean anything really. It means that there is an imbalance in his system that needs to be looked at. But if we did testing and looked at everything and did everything and there's no change, then clearly there's something more. And hyperbaric oxygen therapy can be helpful. Just
Yes.
make sure that you don't have any yeast overgrowth issues when you do that, because it can make that worse. So normally we kind of ask parents to leave that therapy until they've done a little bit of the work with us, and then maybe do the HBOT with a recognized center, obviously.
Okay, see, it's things like that step by step, because you talked about detoxing, replacing, and repairing. So
Yeah.
I think this itself could be an issue, because for someone like me, I know my son has yeast overgrowth, but I was planning to go to this hyperbaric oxygen therapy, but I didn't know that information. So I think it's very important to work with professionals so you can have that step by step. You know, you're doing the right thing at the right time, and you're not making things worse. I think this is our dilemma really. Now we have a lot of information and knowledge, but it's about how we implement that correctly in the correct order.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very well said. And the thing is that what it would be sad is if you did HBOT and it was not a good experience, for you to just avoid that therapy, because future, once you've done the basic work, it might be a fantastic therapy for you, you know?
Exactly,
So
yes.
you don't want to miss that opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for this clarity. Thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, are we good? And then anyone
I
else?
think so. I really need to go now. My
Can
baby's
I ask one
finished.
question? Sorry.
Hey, Yasmin. Yeah.
Can I?
Um,
Sorry, I need to leave actually. So maybe you end the session.
Okay. And
Okay. Thank you very much, lady. I gotta go. So
all right. Take
thank you.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, Mona.